The wait is over. Dive into Audible's most anticipated collection, The Best of 2025, featuring top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals across all genres. Our editors have carefully curated this year's must-listens, from brilliant hidden gems to the buzziest new releases. Every title in this collection has earned its spot. This is your go-to for the absolute best in 2025 audio entertainment. Whether you love thrillers, romance, or nonfiction, your next favorite listen awaits. Discover why there's more to imagine when you listen at audible.com/bestoftheyear.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Mute. So. And a Mr. Toby Tom play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Blake Baker staying put. Couple of Tigers in the portal. We can know LSU's bowl destination. Saints slipped up and won a game. Ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
What a week for LSU football and for new head coach Lane Kiffin. Man, a massive early win. Not only did LSU last week polish off the early signing period by getting both 5 stars, Lamar Brown, Richard Anderson, to honor their commitment, sign with the Tigers, but perhaps an even bigger commitment on Friday night when Blake Baker made it known that he would, in fact, be returning to LSU, foregoing opportunities from both Memphis and Tulane to be their head football coach. There's a lot of layers here that I want to dive into, but if you remember that timeline from a week ago, Monday, Baker interviewed with Tulane. Wednesday was the report first from Garland Gillen that he interviewed with Memphis. On Thursday, both Tulane and Memphis came to Baton Rouge for face-to-face meetings with Baker. By Thursday evening, a lot of the media in New Orleans were reporting that Baker was expected to take the job. Shared with you that a brief interaction that I had with Blake Baker on Thursday evening made it very clear that he had not made up his mind and was very much struggling with what to do. And ultimately on Friday, made the decision that he would, in fact, return to LSU instead of becoming a head coach. And I think there are two things primarily. I didn't say only two things, but two things primarily that led to Blake Baker making the decision to return to LSU. He was a guest on Off the Bench on Monday with Hester and Flynn and talked about the thing that really was the most important thing in this decision.
It starts with, honestly, like my family, talking to them. Kids are, 10, 8, and 6 now, and hearing their input. But we're extremely happy here and love the community, love the support of Baton Rouge, and obviously being close to family. All those things, play a major role, and then especially as many times as we've moved, in the last 5 years. So I think that's where it started, and probably everything else is probably lanyap.
Okay, so remember we discussed this last week. Why the family thing was so significant. Remember, he just told you his oldest is 10. they're at an age now where when you move, it's not easy. And listen, this is something that's relatable. Maybe as a parent, you've had to move for your job with your family. Or maybe when you were a child, you moved with your family. So you don't have to be a football coach. Like my sister's husband took a job in Kansas, so works for Honeywell. They left here and their family and moved. My brother took a job at the University of Notre Dame. They live in South Bend now. They moved from here to there. Like that's something that's relatable, right? It's not an easy thing for families to do. And just follow the last 5 years. In 2020, they were at Miami, 21 in Baton Rouge, 22 and 23 in Columbia, 24 and 25 back in Baton Rouge. Now they're going to move again. And you don't take the Tulane job thinking you're going to be there as your last stop. You take the Tulane job thinking, there's my springboard to a Power 4. So what, another year, two? I mean, John Summerall was at Tulane for 2 years before he got the Florida job. So what, 2 more years going to be moving again? I think that was in his mind, certainly, of why he was willing to stay put at this point. And I think that's very human and very relatable, especially when everything else fell in place. LSU's going to pay him $3 million a year. He's going to have a chance with an offense from Lane Kiffin that will be complementary to the defense. Listen, there's no secret. It was a frustrating year for Blake Baker. The defense played well enough to win against Oklahoma. They gave up 20 points on the road at Alabama. They were on the field for 86 snaps against Ole Miss, but until the final 2 minutes of the first half, it shut Ole Miss out on their home field. They kicked a field goal at 3 points until the final couple minutes there. I mean, it was a very frustrating season, and it stands to reason that with Kiffin coming in, you're going to have some balance offensively, which only help elevate him and his side of the ball. So I said family was one part. All that other stuff had to fall in place, right? The money, the opportunity to win, all that other stuff, which is there. But the other thing, too, was the conversations that Blake Baker had with current players and with recruits last week.
Part of it was, loyalty to current players and the recruiting class. I guess news had broke that I was taking the Tulane job, and I had a lot of the current players texting me and calling me, wondering what was going on, and just the timing of the recruiting class. You're sitting here and you're telling guys that you're going to be here next year, and we need you to sign on the dotted line. And I just couldn't look at myself in the mirror and say those things and then up and leave in the next 24 hours.
I think that is incredibly admirable and ethical of Blake Baker. And remember, we shared some of these details with you as well last week. Wednesday was the start of the early signing period. Tuesday night, there was a 3-hour meeting at Football Ops with Lane Kiffin, the GM Billy Glasscock, Blake Baker, Bryce Brown, who's Richard Anderson's high school coach, and Anderson's agent. His representation was there. Well, Blake Baker's there on Tuesday night saying, we want you to sign. We'll be here. Here's what it's going to be like. 48 hours later, he's going to be the Tulane coach. I told you also that I had a conversation on Thursday with the father of one of LSU's signees. And this was Thursday midday. And this person told me he was very, that in the conversations they had this week, that Blake Baker told him that he's staying. So Baker was telling recruits he was staying. And then by Thursday night, Friday, he was going to be gone. I mean, that clearly, you heard it from him there. I mean, that weighed on him. Now, it's also plausible that he didn't have the formal offer from either of those schools until Thursday at some point. So maybe when he was having those conversations Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, maybe he didn't know if he were leaving, which is certainly realistic. But obviously, you've got a real opportunity. And listen, this is significant for a lot of reasons. When Blake Baker got here, LSU was 108th in total defense and 81st in scoring defense in 2023. So here are the total defense ranks. The year before Blake Baker showed up, 108. They went from 108 to 61 to 25th this year in total defense. 108 to 61 in year one under Baker to 25th. Scoring defense, they were 81st in 23, 59th in Baker's first year, and then 15th this year. So they went from 81 to 59 to 15. You are dramatically improved in 2 years under Blake Baker, not debatable. You have key staff in place. With Baker returning, you retain your defensive staff. Remember, the whole offensive staff is turned over as Lane Kiffin's brought in his offensive staff. But defensively, with Baker staying, Jake Olson, Kevin Peoples, Corey Raymond, they're all staying in place as well. Now you've made a change at defensive line coach because Kyle Williams is not going to be on staff, and you've hired Elijah Robinson, which is a phenomenal hire. But retaining your staff is key for continuity on the roster and for your recruiting class, as we saw. I mean, if Blake Baker hadn't returned and the staff there was upheaval on the staff, Richard Anderson may not have signed. Lamar Brown may not have signed. Haven Finney out of California. Remember, Haven Finney told us that this was a Corey Raymond play. Like, if Corey Raymond wasn't on staff, he probably isn't signing. So it stands to reason that if Blake Baker was gone and Corey Raymond wasn't back, that Haven Finney might not have signed. Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola. A lot of these guys may not be part of this class if you had the defensive staff upheaval. That's a very real thing that could have happened. So, listen, it's a huge, huge win for Lane Kiffin to keep Blake Baker, because if you just simply replicate the defensive performance from this year in 2026, and Kiffin does at LSU what he's done everywhere, which is bring productive offenses. I mean, if you had a competent offense this year, you beat Oklahoma, you probably beat Alabama on the road. You only gave up 20 points in that game. I mean, even the Texas A&M game, I know the final score got lopsided, but you were winning that game at halftime, 18-14. So, I mean, Ole Miss, you had opportunities to win that game on the road. How different, could the season have looked with a competent offense? I think that's what they're banking on in 2026. Long way to go, but maybe the biggest get last week wasn't one of the recruits. It was keeping Blake Baker in Baton Rouge. All right, it's after further review. We are glad to have you hanging out with us here. Our show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of your New Orleans Saints as well. Not too late. You can always get by any retailer, and you'll find the officially licensed LSU cans and the 16-ounce aluminum bottles. Great time with the holiday here to toast with the delicious taste of ice-cold Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, y'all, it's after further review. Saints slipped up and got themselves a win. Want to talk about that as we continue here on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty, buying or selling commercial or residential. Tell you every day, think real estate, think Darren James. Hey, I know I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Maybe if you heard me talk about it, didn't do it, or maybe you meant to do it, forgot to get back to it. But if you're going to sell your home, first of all, you got to know how much your home is worth. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about trying to get an appraised value of your house. But at Darren James's website, he has a free tool on the website. It's called the Home Value Tool. So if you go to the website, agent225.com, do this right now. Grab your phone. If you're at your desktop, just go to agent225.com. You'll see Home Value bottom right. Or if you're on mobile, just scroll down. You'll see where it says Home Value. Just type in your address. Just type in your address, hit enter, and it's going to spit out, using local market data, what your home is worth right now. Start there and get your home sold with Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Moving left to right in a tie game, 17-17. Shough takes it out of the shotgun. Here comes some pressure. He's in trouble. Escapes it, and now he does escape it. 20, 15, 10. Shough is going to get his second rushing touchdown of the game as he takes it in for the left side.
Fun game, fun battle. I thought just our guys' mindset and the way they prepared this week, obviously, when you've only won a couple games during the season, there's a lot of adversity that you faced. And so for our guys to come out and have the energy and the physicality that they played with, I thought was credit to our guys. They're a special group, a group that keeps playing. And all three phases, I felt, contributed to this game back and forth. And so it was a really challenging game for both teams. And so it was big for our guys to come away with the win.
Kellen Moore, after the Saints beat Tampa 24-20 in the slush. It was Mike Haas on the call on the New Orleans Saints radio network. Not that we've had many to choose from this year, but that was the most impressive win of the season for the New Orleans Saints. I'm not even sure that that's particularly close. In particular, whenever you consider all of the elements stacked against New Orleans here, You're on the road, and this Saints team has been awful on the road this season. You lost 44-13 to Seattle, 31-19 at Buffalo, a double-digit loss at the Bears, a blowout loss 34-10 at the Rams. You lost last week at the Dolphins. You did get the one road win at Carolina when Tyler Shough got his first win, but you've been bad. You've been bad on the road. This was on the road against Tampa, which was leading the division by only a half a game while Carolina was idle. And they desperately needed this win to keep their cushion in the division, and a division game could help with tiebreakers whenever you go to division champion tiebreakers if it comes down to that. So that you're without Tale Esefuaga, no Alvin Kamara, no Justin Reed. It's raining. I mean, just this slush pit quagmire you're playing on. There's a lot that wasn't working in New Orleans' favor in this game, and they still went out there and got the win. Tyler Shough, if this is one of those games where you look at the box score, it's not going to tell the story. A lot of times, the stats do tell you the story. This is one of those where that's not necessarily the case. The Saints only put up 260 yards of offense. Not great. Tyler Shough was 13 of 20 for 144 and a pick. Typically, you see that and you go, that's awful. And there was a lot that wasn't good. The interception that he threw, the miscommunication on the deep ball was ugly and not at a great time in the game, obviously, when you had scored to start the game. They answered. You had missed a field goal, and then you threw the interception. Things weren't feeling great at that moment for New Orleans. It felt like the game was shifting as we all thought it might. But Tyler Shough is consistently showing the ability to elevate the team. And I think that's maybe, I don't mean for this to sound like a knock on Spencer Rattler, because I don't think Rattler was the reason the Saints were losing. But what we pretty consistently said was Rattler wasn't making the plays to elevate the team. Shough, I think we're seeing, is making some of those plays. You heard the 34-yard touchdown run. How about the 13-yard touchdown run, which gave the Saints the lead for good? That was a play where, I tweeted, Tyler Vick, because, he's felt like he was in the grass, rolls out, darts up the left side, dives for the pylon. Incredible play when you had to have it. There was the Saints in the second half were 5 of 7 on third down. In the fourth quarter, they were 4 of 5 on third down. Just look at these late game plays. On that drive where Shough scored the game what ended up being the game-winning touchdown, on 3rd and 10, he converted a 13-yarder to Olave. On 3rd and 8, he threw the screen to Neal for 14 yards. It was really impressive. As they were chewing clock in the fourth quarter, Saints get the ball with 4:54 to play. A 3rd and 7, he hits Vele for 11 yards. Had another one to Vele for 13 yards. The point is, he made winning plays in key moments in this ball game that allowed the Saints to get over the hump and hang on and get this done. So that was really, really encouraging by Tyler Shough. By the way, after the game, Demario Davis even talked about this, the sort of whatever the it factor is that Tyler Shough has it.
He's shown to have that it factor. What is the it factor? What is that thing that separates, some of our top quarterbacks in the league from the rest of the guys? It's that savviness to make heads-up plays, to have that level of ice in your veins, to make plays when plays are could be dead in essence, to save a play, to extend a play, to make big runs and big moments, big third downs, to be able to turn into that pocket passer that can read the defense quick and get the ball out. To have that diversity is what I believe that any franchise needs to be successful in today's game.
Way more impactful for him to say it than me. Demario Davis vouching for him is good enough for me. A couple of other things. Opening kickoff of the game, Mason Tipton, 54 yards. You go on the kickoff return. You go 6 plays, 45 yards. You get in the end zone. Hat tip Devin Neal, got his first rushing touchdown. 19 carries for 70 yards. Ran hard all day. I thought that was fantastic to see. You did allow the answer from Tampa right away. But my goodness, how about defensively? New Orleans held Tampa 5 times on 4th down. Tampa was 2 of 7 on 4th down plays. That is, and hat tip to Ross Jackson, who had this at LouisianaSports.net. That's the most turnovers on downs by Tampa Bay since at least 1991. I mean, like time and again, you came up with those plays. The 4th and 1 stop for the TFL when around midfield. Obviously late in the game, you had a 4th and 3 where Kool-Aid McKinstry hit. I'll call him Kool-Aid after this one. Hit Chris Godwin. Looked like he had the reception, bobbled it. That was right at the start of the fourth quarter. They had a 4th and 1 that they did convert, but later on a 4th and 4 didn't, which ended the game for all intents and purposes. Really strong effort by the Saints defense on the road to hold Tampa on their home field to 20 points. Love to see that from this defense. I didn't love the end game scenario. There were 2 scenarios that I thought Kellen Moore handled poorly. One was when Audric Estime, this was at the beginning of the fourth quarter. This was at the end of the third quarter. Audric Estime has a carry. It looked like he got the first down. They ruled him short. And then they didn't review it. On 4th and 1, they complete the pass to Olave, but Cesar Ruiz was flagged for an ineligible man downfield because, of course, he was. When Kellen Moore met with reporters on Monday, he was asked about not stopping or not challenging on that third down play where it looked like Audric Estime had converted. And the Saints ended up moving back 5 yards, having to kick the short field goal. But this is why they didn't challenge.
Yeah, it got tricky. I think, we just never got a view as a result of it. And so we obviously saw the first down indication initially based off the alignment of the officials coming in and looked pretty clean. There was just no looks to potentially challenge it. And so it would be a little bit of guessing game challenge, which obviously we could have potentially done. But we didn't see any looks necessarily to do it. And we had a play that we felt like, all right, we can still execute this on 4th and 1. Felt clean about it. And so, unfortunately, got a legal man downfield.
It was totally worth using the challenge right there. Ultimately, either way, you're still going to have that play in your back pocket and you're in field goal range. It's worth burning a timeout, potentially get 4 points, just my point of view. But anyway, I think there's enough of these scenarios where, even to his first game as head coach where he didn't use timeouts at the end of the first half scenario. But all of that, I'm sure, will come with time. And it's just such a contrast to Sean Payton, who acted like a pissed-off teenager, just throwing a challenge flag whenever he wanted. These are just complete polar opposites of one another. The other was late in the game, throwing the ball on 3rd and 11, which the ball was almost intercepted and stopped the clock with 1:48, which then Kai Kroger kicked the ball in the end zone for a touchback. So they got the ball at the 20 with 1:48, a chance to go go win the game down 4. But the decision to throw on, remember, Tampa's out of timeouts here, and you're inside of the 2-minute warning. So you run a play, you're going to get to a minute, then you punt it. There's going to be inside of a minute left in the ball game for Tampa with no timeouts if you run the ball there and chew clock. But they threw it. It was almost intercepted, ended up incomplete. Here's Kellen Moore. Why?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's on me. There's a lot of factors that go into that, and we're trying to do our best to keep the clock moving ultimately, and so that's on me. I just need to simplify the game for everyone and just run the football in that situation just so we can burn the clock, because ultimately that was our main goal.
He's learning as a head coach, no doubt, and you'll learn from those lessons. Thankfully, it didn't hurt the Saints, and it's easy to say hindsight's 20/20, but that's just not the case. It was 3rd and 11. If it was 3rd and 2 and you had a play that you felt you could execute, like on the 4th and 1 that we just talked about, that's different. 3rd and 11 is not a high percentage conversion down. So the risk isn't worth the potential payoff there, because the risk is incomplete pass. Now they have 1:48. They're getting the ball, and it's plenty of time without any timeouts. You run the ball. By the time you run it, punt it, they retain possession. Even with a touchback, there's going to be less than 60 seconds to go in the game. They need a touchdown, and they have no timeouts. So it's good to hear him acknowledge that. Would have been better in the moment just to make the sensible call. But in any event, the Saints win. They get their 3rd win. I know at this point there's this sort of ongoing discussion among all of us about, would you rather the Saints win or lose? I'm going to be consistent here. I would rather them win. I know the feeling is you're screwing up the draft. I don't care. I think Mickey Loomis does a good enough job of screwing up the draft himself. I would rather find out that you have the franchise quarterback. I'd rather come through the final month of this season stealing a couple of games and ending up a 4, 5, 6 win team, drafting 10th, 8th, 9th, than being 2-15 with the first overall pick and feeling like you missed on Shough and you got to go draft a franchise quarterback. So I guess there's an in-between. You could play well, feel good about Shough, and still have a top pick. But I'm just going to feel better about going into the offseason if you feel like you have your starting quarterback going into next year. If you feel like going into draft and free agency, you've got Shough, great. Now, with Carr's retirement that freed up cash, you can go spend money on a proven offensive lineman. You can go into the draft and with a top 10 pick and get the best available wide receiver, edge rusher, cornerback, and feel much better about yourself going into 2026 and your ability to maybe push for a division championship in a division that's not a super strong division, or doesn't have an elite team in it. So I'm not going to sit here and boo-hoo about the Saints winning a football game. I'm glad they went on the road and won that football game. I hope they come home against Carolina this week and they blow the doors off Carolina. That's what I hope happens. I hope they keep winning. I know they're not going to the playoffs, but I'd rather see this team continue to grow and develop and win behind Shough to show the rest of the league you got something here in this young quarterback. Free agents may want to come to New Orleans and be a part of this. Your current guys may want to re-sign and stick around for the development. All of that, I think, is more positive than, hey, let's face plant, go 3-14, and get the first or second pick. So, I know not everybody agrees with that, and that's okay. I mean, we could just have difference of opinions. I don't think you pound the table and say definitively one way is right or wrong. But I feel good about New Orleans winning the game and Tyler Shough making winning plays and finding ways to go on the road, battle adversity, and win a game. And the Saints did that on Sunday, and I hope they do it. I hope they do it 4 more times. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. Hey, a lot of people are going to be hitting the road, no doubt, during the holiday season, going to those Christmas parties or maybe going to see family for Christmas out of state, out of town. You need name brand tires at wholesale prices. Shaw Bills will sell them to you. You go to the website, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Hit the promotions tab at the top of the page. You'll see all of the dealer specials they have, and they work so hard to combine the dealer special with the manufacturer's offer, so that way they'll give you the best price. They guarantee it. Remember, part of the Charlie's dozen, it's the price match guarantee. Buy tires at Shaw Bills, find those tires advertised somewhere cheaper. They'll refund you 125% of the difference. It's Shaw Bills. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills, we keep you rolling. All right, y'all, it is after further review. Glad to have you hanging out with us here on this Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. In about 15 minutes, we'll get to what we learned. I do want to give you my college football playoff reaction. That's coming up at the top of Hour 2 in about 30 minutes from right now. Peter Burns in Hour 2, former Saint linebacker Scott Shanley here in Hour 3. Couple of LSU Tigers have hit the portal. We'll give you a little Cliff Notes on that when we come back. We're glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Big hat tip to my buddy Derek Duplessis over at Duplessis Builders. 2 things I want to tell you about. Number 1, very cool. Last week was a massive week around LSU, of course, with Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson, Bryson Martinez, all signing with LSU. Well, all 3 of those guys did high school NIL deals with Duplessis Builders. So Derek, LSU grad, great supporter of the Tigers as well. There's a cool video that we put out on social media of a piece of content that we did where I went and interviewed those 3 guys at Duplessis this past summer before the season started. You want to check it out. It's on any of our Facebook, Instagram. It's all out there. Also, major hat tip to Derek for participating in the 12 Days of Christmas with us over at Parrish Construction and Roofing. Both Duplessis and Parrish each put up $1,000 for 12 families to help make their Christmas a little brighter. Ruckus and Chris's Specialty Foods also participated, but just another way that Duplessis Builders and Derek Duplessis are giving back to our community. DuplessisBuilders.net, DuplessisBuilders.net.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
We know LSU is going to be playing in the Texas Bowl coming up on December the 27th. We'll talk more about that a bit later in the show. But what I think is going to be of greater consequence is who is going to be playing in the Texas Bowl, as there no doubt will be opt-outs for the draft, and then also players who are entering the transfer portal. Now, the portal window doesn't open until the beginning of January, so these players could, in theory, play for LSU in the bowl game and then go in the portal in January. I don't know that that's realistic. Well, there are 2 LSU players today so far that have announced their intention to enter the transfer portal. First, earlier today, and this one really isn't a big surprise, LSU junior cornerback Ashton Stamps on social media earlier on Monday announced his intention to enter the portal when the portal window opens. And Stamps is an interesting one because he, in that 2023 season when the defense was historically bad, he played a lot as a freshman. And then last year led the SEC with 14 pass breakups. So coming into this season, we all kind of thought that Stamps would be a really significant piece of this defense, but kind of what we saw happen was that Mansour Delane came in, obviously had the season that he did. DJ Pickett came in, took an elevated role, and then throughout fall camp, it was PJ Woodland that, as camp went along, it just was very obvious as reps started to go with the ones to Woodland over Stamps, and Stamps was just sort of just relegated to a backup role. So Ashton Stamps ends up only playing in 3 games this season, so he hits the portal and will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. I remember Brian Kelly, I think I asked him this after, it was maybe the Monday after the Clemson game, but I asked him about Stamps not playing because it was a surprise at that time. I think he maybe played 1 or 2 snaps against Clemson. And again, that was a guy that we thought was going to have a big role. And I asked Kelly why Stamps didn't play, wondering if there was something going on, and he was pretty cut and dried.
We're going to play the guys that, obviously give us the best chance to win. And he's a really good player. There's no doubt. But, when you talk about the rotation right now, the rotation was what we played on Saturday. But Ashton's got to stay ready. He knows that. This is a long season. We have great confidence in him and his ability to go out there and play at a high level for us.
So that was Kelly back at the beginning or end of August, beginning of September on Stamps. But Stamps is gone. Look, Mansour Delane's going to be gone as well. Pickett, Woodland should return as your starting cornerbacks. Got some young guys. Jakeem Jackson can come back. You signed Haven Finney. Maybe they go in the portal at another corner. We'll see how that all goes. The other LSU player that's declared his intention to enter the transfer portal is Ahmad Bro. Hayes Fawcett reported, but Bro has confirmed it on all of his social media that Bro is leaving. This one is maybe a little bit of a surprise because Bro had such an impactful freshman season and then played so much this year as well as a sophomore. But remember, Ahmad Bro played at Ruston for his defensive coordinator, Kyle Williams, who was the defensive line coach this year, defensive tackles coach this year, and now Kyle Williams won't be back. So you have Elijah Robinson coming in as the defensive line coach. I would have thought for sure that Ahmad Bro would have had a big role on LSU's team moving forward, but clearly that's not necessarily the case. This was Bro, by the way, talking about the role, his relationship with Kyle Williams.
And Coach Kyle, he's taught me more about being a man than anything. Bringing high energy to whatever you do, especially on the field, and ultimately not giving in to what your body wants to do, which is to quit when things get hard. And I really developed that since I've been stepped on foot on the campus with him.
So that was again Ahmad Bro on AFR after Kyle Williams was hired. Actually, I think that was before Kyle Williams was hired when we did that interview with him. But in any event, Ahmad Bro, Ashton Stamps, the 2 players so far that have declared their intention to enter the transfer portal. As we get more of those, we'll certainly pass them along to you. We'll go around the SEC in just a second. We're brought to you by Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. Drink Evamore. Delicious, refreshing, clean tasting Evamore. I encourage all the time, grab a bottle of Evamore and whatever bottle of water you typically drink, do a side-by-side taste. Tell me if you don't taste the difference. And the source matters. This is natural artesian water, these ancient underground aquifers. They call it Mother Nature's masterpiece, and it's a Louisiana product. So support a great Louisiana company. It's got national distribution. Yeah, if you live outside of Baton Rouge, outside of Louisiana, no worries. go to the website, EVAMOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. Type in your zip code, and it'll tell you the nearest store to you where you can buy Evamore. Just go to the menu, hit the little drop down. It says find a store, type in your area code. You'll see exactly where you can buy Evamore. EVAMOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. Drink Evamore. Okay, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference.
Marcel Reed was on the Out of Pocket podcast with RG3 and said that, quote, "I'm coming back. I'll be back." So Marcel Reed, not entering the NFL draft, will return to Texas A&M for the 2026 season.
The Texas Longhorns.
Running back C.J. Baxter will not return to Texas. He says that he plans to hit the transfer portal. Prepped in Orlando, where he was a 5-star prospect, the number 30 overall prospect in the country, leaves Austin after having played in 21 games and rushing for just under 900 yards during his time at Texas.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Linebacker Jerron Willis says he'll enter the transfer portal, announcing that on social media. Just wrapped up his 3rd season at South Carolina after starting his career at Ole Miss in 2022. 3 seasons with the Gamecocks. He played in 20 games, logged just 9 tackles.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's fired defensive coordinator Tim Banks. Pete Thamel the first to report the news. Banks, 53 years old, has been with the Vols since 2021, so he's been in charge with the defense there for 5 seasons. And they were 92nd in the country this year in scoring defense, 88th in total defense. Exit comes 12 months after he signed a new contract with the Vols that was paying him more than $2 million annually.
The Florida Gators.
A couple of Florida assistants who are former LSU assistants will not be retained. Wide receivers coach Billy Gonzalez and running backs coach Jabbar Jalouk, the guy who slapped an LSU football player on the sideline, should have been fired then. Neither will be retained by John Summerall, a good decision. Gonzalez, of course, been the interim head coach since Billy Napier was fired.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
And Bama expects multiple injured starters to be available for their playoff game against Oklahoma. Kalen DeBose, after they got waxed, -3 yards rushing in the SEC championship game, losers. They expect that Xavier Brown and Justin Jefferson will be available. Jam Miller likely should be back as well, and says he's optimistic about LT Overton and Kelby Collins, but we shall see. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. We're presented by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding. Oh, yeah. They do shutters, too. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. All right, glad you're hanging out with us here on this Monday edition. We're not going to break. Muse, Paulie, and I will get to what we learned. The 3 things we tell you about on Thursday we're looking forward to. Incidentally, a couple of ones that I had happened exactly like they were improbable as they were, happened exactly as we thought they might. We'll get to that. Peter Burns in 30 minutes from right now. And I do want to get to my college football playoff reaction. That's coming up here in about 16 minutes after the top of the hour. Stick around. I'll wrap up hour number 1 next.
After further review.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan, injury attorneys, fired up, man. Thursday, AFR live from Gordon McKernan's office just off of Corporate Boulevard in Baton Rouge. The big office that you see there from the interstate with the big inflatables and the waving flag. We'll be there on Thursday for AFR because that's when Gordon is doing the Baton Rouge area bicycle giveaway. So we've been telling you about it for weeks. Every year during the Christmas season, the big philanthropy that Gordon and his team do is he gives away 600 bicycles to less fortunate children all over the state of Louisiana. And then Gordon goes to all the different offices around the state for the bike giveaways, which is a really cool thing to be able to do. And so we're going to be doing the show Thursday from Gordon's office. Gordon will join us. We'll talk NIL and all that stuff as well. But, I mean, what an awesome thing to do. The holidays are here. It's time to lift up people and spread the Christmas spirit. And Gordon is doing that. We're excited to be a part of it on Thursday. We'll be live from Gordon's office right there off of College. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
All All right, wrapping up hour number 1. Glad you're hanging out with us here. We always appreciate Brandon, Holly, and the gang over at Relief Windows. Merry Christmas from all of our friends at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Okay, every Thursday, Muse, Paulie, and I give you 3 things we're keeping an eye on during the football weekend. We call it What to Watch. We come back here on Monday and call it What We Learned. Let's do it.
We watched. Now, let's review.
All righty then. Muse, fire away.
I will. We were watching the American Conference Championship game, Tulane and North Texas. Obviously, the winner of that was a lock for the college football playoff. And, boy, Tulane, who was a home underdog, didn't look like it at all. 34-21, not even that close, to be honest with you. 5 turnovers for North Texas, the difference. Very reminiscent of their blowout loss to USF earlier this year, where they also turned the ball over 5 times. Dominant win for Tulane. They are off to the college football playoff.
I was watching the Big Ten Championship. Number 2, Indiana pulls off the upset over number 1, Ohio State. Fernando Mendoza threw for 222 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. After the win, Mendoza's Heisman odds skyrocketed, making him the favorite for the award. The win snapped a 30-game losing streak against the Buckeyes that stretched to 1988.
I cashed that ticket, and that was fun. We were looking at the scenario with James Madison and Duke. Laid out that for you on Thursday. That if James Madison won their conference championship, which they did, the Sun Belt, and Duke somehow managed to upset Virginia, then we were likely going to have not 1 but 2 G5s in the college football playoff, because a 5-loss Duke team as the ACC champion wouldn't be one of the 5 highest-rated conference champions. Well, James Madison won the Sun Belt, and Duke in overtime upset Virginia, so we have 2 G5s stealing spots from worthy teams in the college football playoff, because, all you dorks want G5 representation, right? Yeah, got it.
Loved Manny Diaz having to stump for his 5-loss team. That was very funny. Big 12 championship. Could a BYU upset potentially get 2 Big 12 teams into the playoff? Well, no, and not just no, emphatically no. They were blown out by Texas Tech once. They were blown out again. Game got off to a great start for BYU. Right down the field, 14-play touchdown drive. They never sniffed the end zone really again. And second-half turnovers, man, just absolutely crushed them. Texas Tech, they can make some noise in this thing. They're off to the playoff.
Cash that ticket, too.
Me too.
A good weekend.
I was also in Indiana like you were as well. Had a good weekend.
Steelers, Ravens. Pittsburgh gets the win 27-22. They improved to 7-6 and now lead the AFC North. Rodgers threw for 284 with a touchdown. He even ran for another touchdown. The Ravens have lost back-to-back divisional games with another matchup with the Bengals coming up this week.
I was hate watching Bama, Georgia, and I was pulling for a blowout. So Bama would be left out of the playoff. Well, we got it. Bama ran for -3 yards. Georgia blew them out 28-7. Wasn't even as close as the final score suggested. Everyone who watched it knows it. Bama is absolutely burning. Nick Saban would never allow a team to rush for -3 yards. That hasn't happened since the 1940s. I looked it up. It doesn't really matter. Bottom line is, Alabama, not very good. They lost, embarrassed. The best kind of Bama fans are sad Bama fans. Got to watch a lot of them on Saturday. And the best part about Bama being in the playoff, they're not going to win the national championship, so that guarantees them a 4th loss, meaning Kalen DeBose is going to lose 4 games in back-to-back seasons. That hasn't happened since 2006, 2007. Yes, Bama has been relegated to the Mike Shula era.
Jaguars and Colts. This was for first place in the AFC South, and it was a dominant win for the Jaguars, but man, it did not come without a pain for Indianapolis. Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. He is out. That's after he was reportedly playing on a broken leg. That pretty much ends the Colts' playoff hopes, as Riley Leonard will take the reins now for Indy going forward. Jacksonville, though, 9-4. Their main competition in the South is the Texans, who got a big win over the Chiefs.
Bears and Packers. Packers get the win 28-21. Packers take sole possession of the NFC North. Green Bay picked off Caleb Williams' pass in the end zone with 22 seconds remaining to seal the win. Packers are currently the 2 seed. The Bears, the 7 seed in the NFC. These 2 teams meet again in 2 weeks.
Pillow fight!
Oh, yeah.
I was watching the Jets-Dolphins. Dolphins blew out the Jets, by the way, 34-10, but I forgot we had 2 pillow fights because we had Titans-Browns as well. And when you know, the Titans managed to slip up and win a game 31-29. So the Titans now at 2-11. Browns are at 3-10. The Jets also at 3-10. Miami, though, they keep winning. What are you doing, Miami? You're 6-7 now. Like, the real pillow fight was actually in Cleveland. I got it wrong. 2 pillow fights on Sunday. All right, there you have it. That's what we learned. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our friends over at Our Lady of the Lake welcome Coach Kiffin and his family to Baton Rouge. And, of course, as the championship health partner of LSU Athletics, Our Lady of the Lake is synonymous with LSU. You go into any of the sporting events at LSU, you'll see Our Lady of the Lake logos everywhere. When you see student athletes being tended to by doctors or trainers, those are Our Lady of the Lake physicians and trainers. And, of course, just on campus, Our Lady of the Lake has the Student Health Center contract as well. So it doesn't matter if it's champions on the field or everyday champions like the students at LSU or you and me. Our Lady of the Lake is the championship health partner of LSU Athletics, offering access and convenience and world-class health care right here at home. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. Y'all put a button on hour number 1. SportsCenter's coming up. We'll get you caught up on national headlines. When we come back, I do want to give my reaction to the college football playoff. I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to say anything that hasn't been said, but I do want to put it on the record. And then Peter Burns in about 20 minutes from right now. Hour number 2 after SportsCenter.
After further review.
Heading into 2026, if you're a business owner or you own a commercial or industrial facility, part of your New Year's resolution needs to be, if you don't already have it, to have a backup power system option. Ask yourself this: what happens if the power goes out? Storm comes, either hurricane, lightning, thunder, tornado, snow, ice, power goes out. What happens to your business? Listen, so many businesses, you can't afford to be offline. So what do? Arco Power Systems can help. So Generac industrial standby generators for your commercial or industrial building. We have one here at Guarantee Media. I mean, storm comes, we can't go off air. So we have a giant generator on the back of this building. If you need one for your building or to lease one or to service your generator, you need Arco Power Systems. Arco.com.